One of the other abuses we've seen is DC Mayor Bowser, who had the city paint near the White House on 16th Street. So picture the White House. Let's say it's facing north. So this is the let's say this is the White House right here, and this is 16th Street, and 16th Street comes right into it. And she painted on that using your tax dollars. And I say yours in the sense it's not just local money that helps DC, because it's the federal city. It gets taxpayer dollars from all over the country to paint the phrase Black Lives Matter, which, as you know, is controversial. But individual Americans have a right to go around and make arguments about that. But the government's putting that statement on the streets of DC. And then they allowed protesters to add equals defund the police, which is really outrageous. Just outside the White House. So what can we do about it? We saw that they had done that, and we thought, my gosh, isn't that interesting? Now, the District of Columbia government seems to tell us that the streets of DC are now is a forum for free expression under the First Amendment. So what we did was we asked the DC mayor for permission to paint Judicial Watch's motto, because no one is above the law. I don't have my Judicial Watch shirt. I'd show it to you otherwise. Because no one is above the law has been our motto for years. It's our motto and our motivation. On a Capitol Hill Street, specifically Independence Avenue. So again, if you think of the Capitol and it's looking out, this is the Capitol looking out towards the Washington Monument, and Independence Avenue kind of comes right there. Two main streets on either side of the mall. We wanted to paint our motto because evidently it's free speech on the streets in terms of being allowed to paint on them. So this is the letter we sent. I signed it to Mayor Bowser and the Attorney General of DC, Karl Racine. We note with interest Mayor Bowser's recent decision approving the painting of Black Lives Matter on 16th Street Northwest, and the approval of and/or acquiescence in the painting of "Defund the Police" alongside the first message. Both messages are expressive activity. I don't like the phrase "defund the police." I object to it. I think it's a terrible policy for all the reasons I've been talking about. People go around and say it. It's America, or at least as of today, it's America, if you know what I mean, in terms of having our freedoms protected. Judicial Watch is a Washington, D.C. based nonprofit organization, which means you can donate, by the way, headquartered in Southwest D.C. For more than 25 years, Judicial Watch has promoted transparency, accountability, transparency, accountability, and integrity in government, and fidelity to the rule of law. Our motto is, because no one is above the law. A message that is particularly relevant today because it applies equally to law enforcement and public officials, as well as to protesters, looters, and rioters. Because DC street surfaces are now being used as a public fora for expressive activity, we would like to have our motto painted on a street, preferably Independence Avenue Southwest, between 2nd and 4th Street Southwest, which is near our offices. The lettering would be identical in size and color to the lettering used to paint Black Lives Matter on 16th Street Northwest. Judicial Watch would pay the cost of the painting, but we would likely need the assistance of the DC government to aid in traffic diversion and parking restrictions while the painting is completed. Of course, the painting could be completed when traffic is typically light, as was done with the Black Lives Matter message. As the timeliness of our message is important, please respond within 3 working days. If the Independence Avenue location is not possible, we are open to considering alternative locations. Thank you for your prompt attention to this matter. So we want to paint because no one is above the law on a Capitol Hill street, and we think we have the right to do so based on the DC government deciding to allow or paint Black Lives Matter and allow to have painted defund the police near the White House. Now, I don't know how under law they could deny us reasonably the right to do that. Are they going to discriminate against us based on our viewpoint? Either by saying no or imposing such onerous restrictions that it would be impossible for us to do this? If so, Judicial Watch is prepared to go to court to vindicate our First Amendment rights. Mayor Bowser isn't above the law. The DC government isn't above the law. You know, and as I say, this rule of law message is timely. It's a reminder that the rule of law applies to and protects all Americans. All Americans. That's what makes this attack on the rule of law so pernicious, because they pretend they're protecting certain segments of our population. In fact, they're putting the whole nation at risk. Every citizen, every non-citizen even. So we'll see what the mayor responds with officially. As I indicate in our letter, we're prepared to be flexible. If not that location, give us another one. We'll pay for the paint. We'll pay for the paint. We'll get the contractors. We'll do whatever's necessary within reason to put this message out there. Do you support this? I encourage you to respond and, you know, for instance, let me know, what would you want to paint on the streets of DC? Please, no obscenities, nothing crazy or silly like that. As you know, I don't want to. We don't have to police our comments and start deleting a lot of obscene terms and things like that. But what would you think would be an effective free speech message to paint on the streets of DC during these crucial times? I'd be interested to know. Maybe we'll change our mind. Maybe we'll come up with another phrase to paint on the street. So we'll see how the mayor responds. You know, and I know many people have enjoyed the fact we've asked this in the sense that they think we're, you know, trolling the government. Well, it's not really about that. It's about, this is what we do. We see a government official, frankly, abuse the powers entrusted to her to paint a political slogan on a street. And what do we do about it? Well, how do we highlight that? By saying, well, we want equal access. It's part of our educational work. We're highlighting what the DC mayor did, and now why Americans also should have equal access under the First Amendment. And if they don't, it highlights the corrupt nature of her anti-Trump propaganda effort.